Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be upgrading my fuel injectors on this bad boy here. This truck is a Ford Bronco 1990 with the 5.8 fuel injected engine. It's not very good on gas mileage, but I am going to attempt to achieve a higher, better MPG. And one of the main upgrades that you can do to get a higher boost in your mileage is by upgrading your stock injectors to a newer style injector. Now, I just want to point out that the stock injectors on this truck here are a single hole fuel injector. And what I mean by that, if you look at these upgraded ones, which are just basically an update off of a newer model Ford Explorer, they have a 4-hole injector style, which is much better for atomizing your fuel, which doesn't cost very much. You can get a set of 8 injectors, brand new or refurbished, and the model that I'm using is off of a 97 V8 Explorer. But by simply doing this upgrade here, you can get about 1 to 2 MPG better on your car and truck. And this will cover most vehicles from Ford from 1980 to 1996. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the negative on your battery. Start off by removing your throttle cover. Next, your intake boots. Unclip your throttle cable. It just pops off just like that. Then remove your throttle bracket. Remove your throttle bracket, set it off to the side. A neat trick I like to do is put the screws back where they were so I don't lose them. Next, unbolt the EGR. Try to keep the bolt installed so it keeps the gasket into place. Most of the times you can reuse these gaskets. Unplug the vacuum and remove your EGR. There's a ground strap and bracket located right here. Remove that. Next, unplug your IAC. Unplug your purge valve. Next, remove your throttle body, and we're going to place it off to the side. Just set it off to the side like that. Remove all of the intake vacuum lines and then just set them off to the side. Careful, don't break any of these. Some of these are plastic and are very brittle. Now it's time to take off the intake manifold, but I just wanted to point out that there is a tough bolt in the middle to get to. It's only 6 bolts total, but the one in the inner middle is a T40 Torx, and it's really hard to get to. I'll show you where it's at. So there it is there. Again, it's located in the middle inner of the manifold, and I had to make a little cocktail here to make sure I can get it in there, squeeze it in there. Basically a 1/4 inch extension, a 1/4 inch socket on a T40 Torx bit. I recommend removing this bolt out first, and then continue on with the rest. Now chances are after you remove that bolt, it's just going to fall right in there. So just use a magnet and fish it out. There it is. Remove the remaining bolts and lift off the plenum. Next, you're going to want to unplug some of these vacuum lines that are in the way. And be very careful with these electrical connectors as they are old and very brittle. Unplug your ignition coil. Just the coil wire. I'm going to leave everything else plugged in. I'm going to remove the bracketry that houses all of this, and we're just going to set it off to the side so we can access the fuel rail bolt. And then just lift it up and push it off to the side like that. Next, I'm going to remove the fuel lines. So take off the safety latch here. And you're going to need a fuel line remover tool. Unplug all the injectors. These can be on there really tight. And these are nice and brittle, so be very careful not to break any. Just kind of pry them off with the screwdriver, they pop right off. Pull out the 4 fuel rail bolts. Try to remove the injectors off with the fuel rail. So I just have a pry bar here and I'm putting light pressure on removing the injector. There's the fuel rail. Now before we go any further, you should take this opportunity and change out your PCV valve and hose and valve cover grommet. It's located all the way back here underneath the plenum and pretty impossible to get to without taking the plenum off. It's doable, but it's pretty hard. Now I did this one with the plenum on, so again it is doable, but I recommend doing it right now. It's very easy to do. Okay, so take off all the injectors. You might get fuel all over the place, but that's okay. So this is the comparison of the old style injectors here to the new style. Again, these injectors are pulled off of a 97 Explorer with the 5.0 liter V8. These injectors were much more efficient than this older style here. They atomize the fuel better, and you should really gain about 1 to 2 MPGs. You can use these injectors on your 5.8, 5.0, some earlier model 4.6s as well will gain from using these injectors here. I can show you the part number here that I'm using. I'll post up the part number so you guys can see that. Now what I like to do before I install the new injectors is get some WD-40, spray it on a rag, and then coat the seals with it, just so they slide into the rail a little easier. And then install all of your injectors. Install your fuel rail. Make sure you push them down all the way. Bolt it back up. Then plug in all your connectors. Next, set up your ignition coil bracket. Plug your vacuum lines back in. Reconnect your fuel lines. Clean up the plenum area here real good. And then install a new gasket. Clean the underside of your plenum as well and install your plenum. And my trick to install this bolt back into the hole is to stick it onto a magnet here like this. Just put it into the hole and start threading it slowly with the magnet. Once it catches, release the magnet and go to town on the bolt. So you can feel for it. There, it's in the hole. Turn it a little bit just like that. Jiggle it if you have to. Once the threads catch, the magnet will come off. And then you can use whatever tool you made to tighten it down. Install the rest of the bolts. I like to go from the center out. Plug in your vacuum lines. Next, install your throttle body. I've already replaced this throttle body gasket, so it was still fresh. I'm going to reuse this one. Take a look at yours. If yours is still good, reuse it. If it's got any cracks on it or if it's just old, I recommend you replace it anyways. Plug in your purge solenoid. Plug in your IAC. Install your throttle cable bracket. Install your throttle cable. Don't forget about this bracket down here, so make sure you tighten this down and install the ground cable there. Install your EGR. I like to keep the gasket on the EGR, thread the bolts into it. It'll hold the gasket into place. Plug in your EGR. Tighten this bottom nut. Install your intake boots. Install your throttle cover. And lastly, reconnect your ground. Make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, let's fire it up. Let's see how she sounds. What do you think, guys? Sounds pretty good. I'm really excited about this upgrade. Now, I've done something like this before on another truck that I have. It's also a Ford 5.8. And I did experience about a 1 MPG gain better, a little bit more throttle response as well. So I highly recommend this upgrade. And if you like this video, guys, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.